Welcome to the GrowEurope podcast. Today we're joined by Aleš Žehelj, a sales expert who leads sales teams for one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies, Krka. He's helped shorten complicated sales cycles and helps busy professionals and founders better perform in life and business. He is also the author of the Next Level Zone newsletter, where he shares practical strategies for improving business and personal performance results, managing stress, and creating consistent growth without burnout. Burnout, which is also something he consistently covers. Let's jump into the podcast. Today we're joined by Aleš Žehelj. Hi.
Hey Tilan, hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. You are a B2B sales expert, author, and founder of the high-performing business lifestyle program. Aleš helps busy professionals and founders better perform in life and business by mastering focus, discipline, and sustainable productivity. Aleš, you've led and scaled B2B sales teams, coached executives in building high-performing habits, and helped companies shorten sales cycles through smarter processes and mindset shifts. And you're also the author of the Next Level Zone newsletter, where you share practical strategies for improving business and personal performance, results, managing stress, and creating consistent growth without burnout. So many things you are doing, so how do you not burn out?
Yeah, I've been quite proactive besides my full-time job as head of sales for a designated area in a multinational company, in the local one. I work a lot on my approaches, how to improve my personal and business performance, how to be more effective, how to manage my energy, my time, how to be more focused, how to deliver better results, provide more value, and like you said, to prevent how to burn out or how to like use all the energy for something and that you cannot then recover anymore. So yeah, I've been like doing sales job and empowering people, guiding them how to perform better.
Sounds great. Can you maybe share with us a little bit of results you helped your clients achieve and maybe what you will teach all of us today?
I'll be talking about my approaches, experience, and knowledge in B2B business, B2B sales, how I improve sales, deliver the results, how I manage clients, how I lead teams, remote teams, coordinate with all the stakeholders. And I'll also present my approaches, how I do non-stop learning, how I improve my approaches, how I implement different approaches in my day-to-day business life and also my personal life. So because I want to be my career and my business, let's say, sustainable on the long term, not let's say with a cycle like really fast growth and then let's say burnout and then long recovery. And that's why I want to share my approaches to empower the people to follow these approaches, which are really helpful. Yeah.
Yes, you mentioned burnout quite a lot. I think it's a very popular thematic nowadays because people don't know how to manage their time because career is so important. Like if you don't work on your career, if you're not busy all the time, if you tell your friends you're free and you have nothing in the schedule, they look at you strange like you're not doing anything in your life. What's wrong with you? And then burnout happens so many times. So maybe I know that you have a lot of experience on helping people avoid burnout. So what are the most common cases of burnout you see and what are like some mistakes people usually make with burnout and their managing of time?
I work with the clients, like consulting them how to avoid this, how to have sustainable career and private life. And a lot of stories are about the reasons are mostly that the people don't know how to set the limits, how they don't know how to say no, they don't set the priorities, they have work overload during the career, like taking more and more responsibilities, forgetting about the work-life balance, forgetting about quality food intake, about the movement activities, a lot of sitting work, sedentary lifestyle, and they don't take care of the sleeping habits and they don't care about the recovery. So these are like the main problems. I hear a lot of stories that people are burning out even already in the 30s, or let's say late 20s, which is quite a problem. Yeah, so early.
Yeah, you've mentioned something before when we talked that like we usually think of a burnout like 1 month I'll be knocked out and then I come back and everything will be back to normal. I can grind again. But you said that the case is not. This is not the case.
Yeah, because in these kind of situations, you make a damage on your mental and physical well-being, and you make actually like quite a big step back uh, in your performance as well, and takes like a lot of time to recover and to get back on this like optimal performance you had before. So even these shorter burnouts are uh, quite problematic, and like a lot of people like think, okay, I'm gonna work hard for the next 5 or 10 years when I'm, let's say, still young. I might burn out, but okay, I'm gonna recover, then go forward. But it's not like that. I mean, because of this damage the people make on themselves, it's really hard to get on that tempo again. And you also have like, let's say, like physical damages or mental damages. It impacts your health, and it also impacts your motivation. So it's kind of deadly combination. So I really empower people like to work on the approaches which will help them to avoid this total exhaustion, or let's say the burnout. Because I could be in the same situation, but my mission, like what I promised to myself, I will never burn out. So I will really work hard on that. I stick to these, let's say, priorities, to the limits. I set myself and to the other people the limits. I limit my work schedule, like working hours and so on. I take care of recovery. I take vacations, or even some short vacations. I take breaks during the day. I implement them in my schedule because I want to deliver good results, let's say, to the company I work for, to maintain my well-being and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what is the saying in the English, but in Slovenian we have something like if you go slow, you'll come way further than if you like try to be quick. And you like it's the same for burnout. If you want to be fast in like 5 to 10 years, make your whole career, you'll probably make less of a career than if you take it for a lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, our careers and performance should be like sustainable, let's say slow but stable growth of the results of skills, of achievements, and so on. It doesn't make sense, let's say, like I mentioned in the beginning, to make like a really high growth and then really fall down. And then it will be really hard to recover, and to continue because the many factors I mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, so we covered a little bit of burnout. I'm sure we will cover some more later. But maybe now, what's one big myth about B2B sales that you'd love to kill right now?
What actually do you mean about that? By that?
That like many times people like founders or sellers think that they should do something about B2B sales. Like there is one strategy or something they've heard, but like it doesn't work anymore or it's completely wrong.
Yeah, the biggest mistake that people could make, or the founders, let's say, is, let's say, copying one strategy, sales strategy they heard or seen, let's say, in the other case for the other company, then implement it like direct copy paste, because each company, or I don't know, startup or solopreneur freelancer needs like specific sales strategy, because everyone has different business environment, different ideal customer, different product, or a different, let's say, service.
So a strategy I see many times that they're trying to implement now also with like all the AI growing and like some calling centers now replaced by AI and stuff. Is it possible that AI will completely replace B2B sales? And maybe is there like a place where humans still have the edge on the AI?
I don't believe it's gonna completely replace the people involved in these processes. I mean, it's gonna make the processes easier. It's gonna make the calculations, analytics easier, or some new, let's say, proposals and stuff like that. But sales, it's still human to human process. We need to build relationship, we need to build trust, authority, authenticity, and so on. And this could be only done with like taking these relationships to the next level with the people, right? Or putting the effort in building relationships. Yeah.
So instead of just copying the strategy from like another company, so how would you find your ideal customer profile? Because many times like maybe early founders just take like one company they maybe accidentally get and then just take it and copy from some other companies that are similar. How would you find your ideal customer profile?
Absolutely avoid this copying. I mean, okay, you can take some parts, but completely to copy it, it doesn't work like I mentioned before. And avoid assumptions. Absolutely. Assumptions are just assumptions. So you cannot base your strategy on some assumptions. You need to do market research. You need to do, let's say, your ideal client or customer, the main challenge or the main pain research, and then prepare your answer, or let's say the product or service, which will help them to solve this challenge or the problem.
Okay. And what are maybe the signs that you would look for that shows like a lead is worth pursuing further? That they're interested, maybe that they really need your product. What are some signs that usually show?
Yeah, these, let's say, discussions, giving them as much questions as possible, and based on the answers, I mean, listening to them, and giving them the strategies based on that what they're telling you, or they're gonna emphasize their problems, the challenges, the pain points. So adapting the strategy, sales strategy, or product or service based on that exact answers or data which you get from them. This feedback is really important, no matter which industry or business you are working in.
So I work with a lot of startup founders, and they're usually afraid to ask for feedback or don't want to bother clients and stuff like that. So how would you advise them to get the feedback as naturally as possible? And what are maybe some common questions they should ask that actually like help, so they're not like vanity questions?
Maybe making the let's say this meeting environment more relaxed. Like if they don't want to meet, let's say in really formal environment, maybe take them for a walking meeting or meeting them at lunch. So you break these barriers, and then I mean, getting those questions start. When the ice is break, I mean, they're gonna open themselves. They're gonna start telling you, but it takes time to build that trust. Some people are also, let's say, introverts, and with those people, it just needs a little bit more time, a little bit more effort, maybe a little bit different approach. When dealing with the people, have in mind that each person has its own unique character or mindset, and needs different approaches. So again, we cannot copy paste the same approaches to all the people, I mean to everyone. So we need to adapt, make some individual adaptations, and above all, test. That's my rule in business. Test different approaches, because again, we need to avoid the assumptions. We need to avoid these generic strategies or approaches. So test for each one, or for each business, or for each product, what it works or what doesn't work, and then stick to that what it works, or adapt those things which don't work. So this adaptation, testing, getting feedback, and so on. Don't be afraid to ask anyone about the feedback. That's I think the number one rule in sales. To avoid assumptions again. Customer or potential customer feedback is golden. They're gonna give you the answers. They're gonna give you the idea how to establish your services or a product, how to build a product, and what product or service to build. Yeah.
Do you have maybe any more specific like questions or some like tricks to figure out as soon as possible what kind of person is on the other side so you can like personalize it as much as possible? Like how do you make sure to find out as soon as possible what kind of person you're talking to?
I don't like this approach as soon as possible because you know the client he knows or he feels that you're in a rush. So my suggestion will be like take your time, build a relationship, go on 5 meetings if needed, send 10 follow-ups if needed, and so on. So in the beginning, when you don't have established the relationship with the client or a potential client, you need to take your time. I mean, this step cannot be skipped or let's say accelerated. So it takes time to build trust and long-term relationships, yeah, or to make people to open themselves to you, or let's say to your company, to give the feedback and what they think, and to emphasize their problems, pain points, and so on. Yeah.
How do you make sure that you're not like pushing too hard? Because many times people are afraid to send follow-ups because I sent it like last week and I don't want to be pushy. How do you like naturally create follow-ups that are not like annoying to the potential client?
If we talk about the follow-ups, I mean, sending them every day, it's really pushy. But
Okay.
let's say sending them like once per week. I mean, I'm talking about the same person you were sending these follow-ups once per week. Let's say you get, when you work with the people, you get a feeling again for each individual. You know, when it's too pushy, when it's not pushy, you get the feedback again. So absolutely, I mean, pushy sales is really not the way to go. I never
But what
heard
is
like
pushy?
really.
Like what so let's try to define what is pushy, because someone will say that it seems to him pushy that it's like once per week follow-up is too much to him. So what would be a pushy strategy and what would be like just a natural follow-up strategy?
Pushy strategy is like being too intense, you know, like I said, sending the follow-ups every day, let's say, to the same person, or really making these really short deadlines, or oh, you need to answer me today and stuff like that. You get the feeling from the person when he feels like it's being pushed too much.
Okay. So now we have a potential client, we met with him, for example, and now we are trying to figure out, like we got his pain a little bit, but now we are trying to figure out what is his budget, maybe to set up some authority for him and to set up some timeline. We said we don't want to be pushy and say that you need to answer me today, but how would you like get all these questions and answers? So for example, for the budget, it's usually founders are afraid to talk about it. So to build authority, to like show that you lead the conversation and to get the timeline in process. So like you still have to push them a little bit, not just let them go anywhere they want, right?
Yeah, again, coming about the budget, my experience is there are like two ways, or like asking them what kind of budget they have. I mean, based on your, let's say, proposal of the product or the service, or just giving them like the offer. Let's say I really recommend doing like the packages, you know, just not just one single offer, but let's say like a package of different offers. If you, let's say, for this product is this kind of price needed, we can extend this with 2 different products or additional services and so on. Or you can play with the payment terms as well, you know, payment in advance, prolonged payment, post payment, and so on. So, but getting their feedback, asking them, it's, let's say, the first step we should do. But later, when you know the customer better, then you can prepare those budget offers, or let's say pricing offers, much better adapted to their, let's say, their needs or to their budgets.
So you prepare offers for Krka company and you prepare strategies for pricing. So how do you prepare, like for example, for a specific client, how do you go, like what is the template to create a pricing strategy that you like get the answer from them that you need? Like for example, if you have A, B, C, you said, right, you want them to hit B, for example. How do you prepare them? What is your pricing strategy?
Yeah, I do. I mean, let's say I work in the last years. I've been working with let's say with a long-term client, so it's a little bit specific. So I know the clients because I work with them on a daily basis. We have quite a lot of, let's say, this relationship history. We went through many challenges. I kind of know also their financial potential or challenges or situation, and I do a lot of analysis before I go, let's say, to some strategy meetings or to some negotiations and so on. I do a lot of analysis, data analysis, and let's say sales history and so on. And based on that, I prepare, let's say, the offers, the strategies. I also, let's say, monitor their, let's say, activities, their sales on a monthly level and so on. So all this data helps to provide, let's say, really effective, let's say, strategy, and again, to avoid assumptions.
What data and analytics do you like check? What are the three most important metrics that like change the pricing strategy or the offers you create? What are like the some stuff that people should track to make sure they can make the best pricing offers?
Checking the competition, let's say, prices, absolutely
Okay.
is a must do. Market trends, and testing again, giving them an offer, and then you'll see what will be their response. Are they gonna take it? They're gonna take time for, let's say, if you do some bigger offer or some, say, let's say, yearly strategy, if you provide them, they're gonna take time to analyze. So getting their feedback based on your offer and then adapting again if they don't agree with it or they have some proposals, and then do these adaptations. And again, here their feedback is really important as well. I mean, when we go on these, let's say, really important meetings, let's say for some yearly or quarterly strategies, I always ask them what are the, let's say, the market trends, by their opinion, of course, or their research or monitoring. What are the market trends? Where is the potential? What kind of, let's say, prices they propose, or let's say some financial conditions and so on. So getting active listening to the client, getting their feedback, and then adapting, let's say, the offers or strategies.
Okay. So, but how do you maybe communicate to the client that, for example, if you are trying to get the feedback, then probably the price is not the last one, right? So you are flexible with it. How do you communicate to a client in a way that it's not like we can change the price, this is not the last price, so if you don't like it, you can come back, but also you don't say it directly, so they don't immediately do that.
Of course, you don't say in the beginning that this is not the last price.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, the pricing, it's like a process of negotiating. So you come with the offer, then you see the feedback, and then you discuss. Okay, they have their, let's say, expectations. You have your expectations. They have their limits, financial limits, and we have our financial limits. So this negotiating and discussing and getting each other's feedback, it's a must do. It's actually, the sales is a game of psychology, you know. So you need to do this dance, you know, on the negotiations, you know, moving forward, backward, left, right with them, and then adapting. And it's okay sometimes if you don't agree to take a pause, let's say for a day, for a week, and then, or a month, I don't know if it's something more strategical, and then come back again with, let's say, with revised or adapted proposal. By my experience, this tactic works as well. I really want to avoid some unrational or, let's say, like really taking fast decisions. Even if the client is pressing on you, by my experience, you can still take time, you know. You just say, we need to rethink, we need to reanalyze, and we'll get back to you, I don't know, tomorrow or next week. And majority of them, they kind of accept this. I had the situations when they were like pressing on me, or let's say on my team, with the so we should give them the offer, the final offer. They said, you know, the competition gave us the offers, and if you're not gonna give us the offer right now, or if you're not gonna change it, we're gonna just exclude you from the business or from the agreements, and we're gonna take, let's say, the competition's products. Mm-hmm. It's a psychological tactic. I kind of know these clients, so I knew they were like improvising, because let's say we're like a big client to them as well, you know. So they could not perform well on the market without us. So, you know, it's these negotiations and sales. It's really psychological tactics involved. So you learn by experience, and by learning these skills like negotiations and so on, communication and so on. Yeah.
Do you have any strategies or tactics of negotiation, maybe for like founders and sellers who don't have such leverage, because you're a huge corporation and you already can use leverage, like the company itself is leverage. But what are other tactics that you can use, and some strategies that you would be like, this is ABC strategy that you can integrate even if you don't have such a corporation behind your back?
Yeah, let's say the advantage of working in a corporation is that you have a lot of experts which you can lean on, and you can always bring your team, let's say, to some hard negotiations or some sales strategy meetings. And all this, like you said, all this knowledge and experience is accumulated, and you can use it. But in let's say in startups or small companies, when they're like usually more like technical experts building the company, they don't even have the person responsible or specialized in marketing or sales. Mm-hmm. So they don't know how to negotiate, how to set the prices, how to build relationships, and so on. For those, I would suggest to hire, to outsource the consultants, let's say in the first step. If you don't need it, let's say if you don't need a full-time sales guy, then do, let's say, like outsourcing for some period, or let's say just for one case. You know, hire the expert, you know, because this expert is gonna provide experience, is gonna save you money, is gonna avoid making you some really, really bad or expensive mistakes, you know.
But maybe just so we give them some like a little bit of a taste of what it would look like. So maybe what are some like mistakes they usually create, these founders, and what are some strategies of negotiation they could like take now and use tomorrow?
I mean, you need to kind of, like I talked before, you need to analyze your client, the needs, the pain points, if it's possible, also the financial situation, their financial, let's say, potential, or the needs or budget. And then when going to negotiations or preparing them the sales strategy or the offer, you need to come prepared. I mean, you need to come with your, let's say, 2 or 3 scenarios. If the first one doesn't work, you need to have this one. What I suggest, always don't go, if you're a founder or a small company, don't go on these strategical meetings or negotiations alone. Bring your team. Okay. If you don't have, let's say, if you're a solopreneur, one person company, I don't know, bring some colleagues, friends, you know, even if they're not experts, you know, it's psychological, you're much stronger, you know, especially if the other side, let's say the client comes with 3 or 4 people on the other side of the table. I mean, they're gonna eat you. You cannot do it if you're not really, I don't know, really good psychologist, or let's say good in sales. They're gonna eat you like a piece of cake, you know, because, you know, more people, they have more power. Mm-hmm. They're gonna manipulate you. So yeah,
Is
come
the
with
physical
me.
and psychological is the same basically, right?
It is, and you don't probably have all the answers as well. I mean, this problematic. So, let's say for the founders or startups, come, let's say, with some outsourced person, let's some specialist for, let's say, for sales or marketing, and those people could also help you with structuring or creating your strategy, to avoid mistakes, to avoid losing money, and so on.
Okay, so as we said, you work for a huge company, but still your like the target audience is actually very small, even though you're like a huge corporation. So you have like in each market only a few of companies and targeted companies that you're trying to work with and get for clients. So maybe how do you like qualify those leads and how do you find them in those contacts? Because this is really hard to find probably. So what is the process?
Yeah, pharmaceutical business is kinda specific because in B2B, you work, let's say, with the companies who are distributing your products. You work, let's say, with some pharmacy chains, pharmacies, and some hospitals. It's kind of limited number of players on the market, and a lot, like huge investments are need to be done if you want to be in that business. And on the other side, it's also really regulated, legally and so on. So I mean, for each market, even when our company is entering some new markets on the other side of the world, let's say, you kind of know what the big players on the market are. Let's say your potential customers or clients. So you get in contact with them, and you start building the relationship. You discuss what we can do for you, what they can do for us, and so on.
So for
So
example,
it's not hard to get to those, let's say, to those companies, but it's hard. It's highly competitive business. So it's hard to then build the relationship from the beginning.
So, for example, like there are a lot of tech founders who have like a very specific solution and they have like a very specific audience they should like work with. So, like, how would you like contacts are not so easy to find maybe for those, maybe because you're like bigger company, it's easier. But like you mentioned, someday we talked about like some events that you prefer that way of going to the events and stuff like that. So, maybe what would you recommend to those? How do they find those players, and maybe if it's also competitive, how do you like make sure that you win, that you get the clients?
If you work, let's say, if the company works in business to business, I mean, these business events, conferences, seminars, networking events are great, or let's say trade fairs are a great way to find your clients and to make those first contacts. Another way is online. For example, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is based on that, on, let's say, on business networking and so on. One of the functions is that. So you can also really segment and filter all these, let's say, potential clients online, and get again the first contacts there. But it's also that way. It's also kind of hard. I mean, not everyone is gonna answer you. So you need again to have some tactics, strategies, some experience, knowledge, and so on. Yeah, but it depends. I
What?
mean, I would really like to avoid this generalization. It depends from case to case, from business to business, and so on. But let's say in general, let's say these two tactics to get let's say to the potential clients, to make this first contact. Yeah, like this live networking and online networking, for example.
Okay, so if like we get in touch with the person now and they answer us, and we start to getting traction, so we can't like remember each person from our mind, like what we talked about. What are like some minimum information that you would put into CRM? So when you look back, what is the most important stuff that you would put inside?
Uh, if I would point out one thing, it's absolutely their challenge. I need to put down in the CRM the challenge, their needs, because again, based on that, everything follows. You know, our offer, way of communication, financial offer, and so on, or product or service is based on that.
What about what are some stuff that people most appreciate, for example? So you remember the challenge and the pain, but like for building the relationship, what are some tricks that people really, really appreciate that you
List,
noticed?
listening to them. Don't
Okay.
talk about you all the time. I mean, you can. I mean, of course, you need to do it, but maybe even in the first place, start taking interest in them, in their challenges, in their problem solutions, active listening to them, and then based on that, start talking about yourself. Because I see these mistakes, like a lot of people, let's say in sales or marketing, they only talk about themselves, about their company, about their offers, and then this leads to be pushy, and the person on the other side, it's not heard, you know, and it's like really pushy promotion from your side. So and the people feel that, and it's a
But
really bad start, I would say.
when
So start with listening. I would say that, yeah.
when you like talk to them and ask them, do you ask them about the company or also about their own problems? So you make like a more personal connection, like when you start talking to the person.
It depends. If you want to work, if you want to work, let's say with a person as a person. I mean, okay, you just talk about that. But in the beginning, of course, if that person is employed in a company, of course, you're interested in the company's problems, pain points, solutions, potential, and so on. But then later, when you're like, if this is the decision maker, that person, if it's the decision maker, then of course you can get to, let's say, more and more, to showing more and more interest in that person as well, because that person is gonna be is gonna be communicating with you all the time. And like I mentioned before, each person has its own character, so again, you need to do this listening, adapting your way of communication, of strategy to that person you're going to be working with. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned before, or maybe we talked before about like how sales trends are important and to implement them, and maybe know when it's time to move on. Like for example, we talked about before the podcast about emojis and hashtags. So maybe how do you follow the sales trends? Are also sales trends maybe like only on the digital world or also like in person communication?
If we focus first on personal communication, I mean, this active listening is a must-have skill for say each salesperson. Uh, Establishing this emotional intelligence, IQ, to feel that person, to understand it, and then adapt again the communication skills to that person. And if we focus, let's say, on the digital trends, copywriting is really, really strong skill again. I remember it was like, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, it was like really, really strong. And now with the people spending a lot of time, let's say, online and so on, a lot of content being written, this skill of being a good copywriter, it's a must-have, even if you are working in sales, because you're dealing with communication on a daily basis. Emails, especially sales offers. When you're doing sales offers or some newsletters about your products and so on, your writing must be clear, must be straight to the point. You need to have these hooks. It must be structured and so on. Yeah. So I would really point out this skill like as a trend. Yeah.
Okay. So also like a common thing that I notice with like sales calls and like founders, like many times you try to be clear, but you still maybe sometimes the client focuses on the wrong problem. Like for example, they focus on one specific thing and you don't want them to focus on that thing. So how do you how do you handle that? How do you like take their mind off of it without being pushy? Like stop, look here, but you can't say that, right? So what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, in this case, if you think that they are like focusing on the wrong problem they have, and their actual problem is something else, if you believe in that, or you have some data proving that, and so on, I mean, you need
Or
to
like when
prepare
you're
like
explaining the features, or for example, of your product or service, and they're like focusing on the wrong thing in the feature. Like like I don't need that. Okay, you don't need that, but we have like other stuff that can help you. You know, when they focus on the wrong thing, you don't want them to focus there. How do you like shift their attention?
I mean, you could say to them like, okay, yeah, we understand that, but by our opinion, this is more important. This is gonna, let's say, solve more problems. This is gonna bring you more, let's say, more income, or I don't know, solve some challenges, or increase your, let's say, market potential, and so on.
You said a good thing. Like I understand you, so that means that you like make sure that they know that you
Yes.
hear them.
Yes,
And then you go
absolutely.
like, I hear you, but also we
Yes.
have this. So you first make sure they know that you understand their problem and you have the solution. You didn't like ignore it. So basically
Yeah.
what you said before, hearing them, right?
Absolutely. This active listening, as I mentioned before, it's really important. Like in this case, we hear your pain point, but we understand, but we think that this is the main problem, let's say. And they're gonna, it's the same when you're leading a team or discussing with a client. Everyone wants to be heard, and then they really appreciate that, and in this way you're gonna make like sustainable relationship, you know, because again, if you're only talking about yourself, or what do you think, or what do you think is the best solution, and you know, not listening to them, this is not gonna give some effective results. I mean, the client might just cut the relationships, or let's say the business with you.
So like when you said active hearing, I was thinking mostly that like I have to listen to you, for example. But there also, I think that the client, as you said, needs to know that you are listening to him, because maybe you just listening is not enough. Are there any tactics or like some words that you say to make sure, like you said, I understand you before? Are there any others that like gives the client the knowledge that you're listening to him, like so he understands?
Yeah, I mean, like you can play with those words, let's say, but like I said, yeah, I hear you, I understand you, I see what you mean, in this way, you know,
Maybe
depends
also writing
of the
down.
situation.
Would you say that writing stuff down also helps?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if you go on a meeting, or let's say online meeting, I mean, it's really welcomed to write down the things. I mean, I forget all the details, so because you can come back, let's say in the follow up, with those things which you wrote down. Let's say the main points. You know, they're gonna, if you listen to them, they're gonna give you the keywords. You know, and those keywords you can use when preparing your sales offer later, you know, or when preparing the follow-up, because it's a psychological trick. The person which hears his words or keywords, it's gonna pay attention, you know, to you. It's gonna listen to you, and he'll be like, he will feel that he's under, or she, that they're understood, and that you can feel their challenges or pain points. Yeah.
So also when you write down the keywords, you could like, for example, in an offer, you have like the pain point, and then you find what is like the contrary of the pain point, what is the direct benefit, and then you just basically build the offer out of their pain points and their keywords basically. So use all their words, just returning to the benefit, not the like negative,
Yeah,
and that's it.
but of course, not only focusing on those keywords. I mean, of course, you need to add your, let's say, arguments or your keywords. So, but using those helps. by my experience. Yeah.
So not like 100%. Otherwise, it will look like scammy if you only use their words, right?
No. It's like copying. Yeah. I mean, you need to be, rational or use or test. I mean, for some clients, it might work. Like, okay, they want to just hear their words, but for some clients, they want to hear your proposal, your keywords, your arguments. So it's again the game of testing, and adapting the strategy for each individual client.
Okay, so let's say we give them the offer now and they say immediately that the price is too high. What do we do now? What is the objection?
Asking why do you think the price is too high?
Okay.
And then you're gonna get feedback, or maybe it's maybe it's too high comparing to the competition offer, maybe it's too high for their budget, or maybe maybe some other reasons. And then again, you should adapt or make one really good strategy when you want to keep the price is that you give them for the same price, you give them some extra value, or extra service, support, or maybe some extra package of the products, let's say, or maybe some additional payment terms. Okay, for this price, let's say you first wanted for them to make the prepayment, but you can tell them, okay, we don't want to decrease the price, but we can give you the post payment. It's like giving them a credit. They're gonna sell the product and pay you later. So this is like a huge benefit, financial benefit for them. So there are like some tactics you can play with. Yeah, it comes with knowledge and experience.
Of course. But maybe are there some other tactics, or are you mentioned quite a few of good tactics now. Do you maybe have out of the sleeve some more that we could use? I think you said like post payment, prepayment.
These financial terms, giving them extra value, giving them extra products. Let's say these discounts are not always effective, and when you start giving them discounts, you cannot get rid of them, because next time when they're gonna come to you or you're gonna come to them, they're gonna expect the discounts again. Or let's say it's a game of negotiation, this psychological game again. So it's also a test how resilient each side is. Maybe they have enough budget for this, let's say, high price, but they just wanna squeeze you more, to save their budget. So it's negotiation, some different tactics, some different, let's say, added value, added service, if you want to, because you also need to have your calculation, when something is profitable and when, with decreasing the price, it's not profitable anymore, because it's not the point to make negative profit,
Of course.
Yeah. So you need to come prepared with the calculations as well. I mean, the lowest point to which you can go.
Okay, but many times it happens, like for example, that when you try to get a call or when you get in touch with the company and stuff, you're not talking with the decision maker you need, right? But sometimes they don't let you through, or people like me and founders don't know how to find their way up the chain and to get to the real decision maker. So maybe how do you do that without losing trust with your contact? How do you get to the right person you need to talk to?
It's being persistent. I mean, first establishing this relationship with a person who's not a decision maker, but then asking. Could we, let's say, next time discuss with your management about, let's say, this offer, so they provide the feedback, or they provide some additional information, or that we present them the offer, because I've been many times in this situation when the person who's not a decision maker, especially in the big companies, they need to say, I need to check with the management, for each decision. I need to check with the management about this. I need to check with the management about this. And then you say, okay, to skip this process, losing that time, can we meet together next time? Maybe not every meeting, But let's say for some big offers or big discussing big strategies, I mean, of course they should be involved.
Okay, but what if they say, like, for example, like the decision maker is busy and I'll just talk to him? You just
Let's arrange the time which will be suitable for that decision maker, you know, when she or him or he is gonna be available, and I'm gonna adapt. I'm flexible. I'm gonna adapt my time to.
so you
that.
try to push unless you really see that they're uncomfortable, but you try to get
Yeah,
like, speed
yeah.
it up.
In these kind of situations, I would be pushy. I would be pushy, persistent. I would say persistent. You know, not giving up, because you get a lot of no's or this kind of feedback, especially when you want to do the business with let's say with the bigger companies, when they have this like hierarchical structure of you know, these positions and decision making process. So yeah, being persistent. I heard like a really good story of a friend of mine. He's also like working in sales. He said that he got the feedback of the decision maker after he did 20 follow-ups.
Oh my god.
So he was like really persistent. I don't know how much time it took to get to that, but he said like after the 20th follow-up, that person finally answered, we arranged the meeting and we agreed the deal.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so being persistent, not giving up, being a little bit pushy. Yeah.
So also, like, sometimes you have like on telephone calls and stuff, right? Because I also work with one company like that, and they sometimes get annoyed if you call them. So maybe would you like, what is some like natural way of being like persistent? So for example, you send once on SMS and then maybe an email. You're not on the same channel all the time pushing to them, right?
Yeah, when you work with a client for a longer time, you kind of get to know that person, and again, you adapt your communication, let's say, approach to them. With my clients, some of them prefer, let's say, texting, like SMS or Viber or WhatsApp, and some of them prefer like making a call, like for everything, for each detail on a daily basis and stuff like that. Some of them maybe prefer, let's say, on email. Some of them prefer like meeting in person. So again, adapting those communication approaches to each individual. Yeah, for everyone I work with, I use different communication approaches. Adapted to their, you need to be flexible, of course. Adapted to their, let's say, expectations or their needs or their approaches.
So we covered the negotiation and maybe some like channels and stuff, but we also said the communication is one of the most important
Yes.
skills that like a sales guy could have. So maybe what are like 5 tricks like that you learned or like heard that like that we can take, like an average person can take to be better at communication? Probably the first one is like also listening, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This active listening, taking these communication courses helps a lot. I did quite a few these communication courses in my
What do you
career.
learn there? Like, are there any specific strategies, or what do you do in those courses?
I mean, yeah, we did. They presented us different strategies, approaches. We did a lot of, let's say, real case scenarios. We practiced that. I mean, you get the new knowledge, new skills you were not aware of, or you know, you could not know about them before, and then again you start adapting those skills or that knowledge in your day-to-day business. Testing again. So let's say assertive communication. It's like really good good thing which, let's say, a person in sales should be educated.
What is assertive communication, maybe? Like, how would you define it? Because each person, when they hear assertive communication, they would like think of different kind of communication.
Yeah, it actually means that, yeah, how are you more convincing? Yeah, that's the point. There are like some tactics how to be more convincing. You know, for example, when you're making a phone call, like there's a good tactic. When you're doing a phone call with a client, don't sit on the chair.
Okay.
Do it in a standing position because you're more convincing, more self-confident, you have more energy. Or even when making, let's say, video calls, you can also do it like in a standing position and stuff like that. So I was taught that this standing position makes you more assertive, more convincing.
Yeah,
And
makes sense. Just
yeah,
psychologically.
yeah, and there's a lot of these sales reps are also trained that, or let's say in some call centers or support centers, that when they're making these phone calls, they're standing in front of the mirror. You know, it again builds your confidence, and you see your, the feedback of your body language and so on. So these kind of tricks are quite effective. I used quite of them, or I've been using them. Yeah.
I need to try that out because it makes so much sense actually, but
Yeah,
you
try
never
with
actually do it.
standing call, and you can do, like I said, standing meetings and so on. So it is a game changer. Yeah, test and you'll see. Let me know the feedback.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Maybe also a good thing. What I'm thinking about is like the standing table, and you have the machine for walking under it. So maybe you just
Treadmill.
like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. That would also work probably. But what are
yeah.
also maybe now we said like covered like the good stuff. What are like three deadliest mistakes that like all newbies make, like all the people who are not trained on sales that kill communication, like the three that most deadly mistakes can also be one too.
Uh, yeah, like I said, talking about yourself, about your offer, about your company all the time. This is the biggest mistake I would say. Not listening to the person on the other side. Not using that feedback which that person on the other side gives you, or the potential client gives you. Not, taking that feedback and adapting your offer, or let's say a product or a service based on that. And I don't know, maybe being too generic, copying other people in communication styles. This, people make business with you or your company because of you. Each person has different character, approaches, mindset, and so on. So when you're building a relationship, they're gonna stay with the company, or if you're a solopreneur, they're gonna stay because of you, because of your approach, your mindset, and so on. So keeping this authenticity, the energy, people feel the energy, So keeping that energy, being positive, absolutely avoid being negative, you know. Yeah, there are some situations which are not always like positive, but don't talk about, don't complain. Especially a lot of people start complaining about their, let's say, some also personal stuff, about complaining about the company, the employer, about the products, and so on. This
Oh
also
my God.
kills. Yeah, this also kills this sales process or communication, or this, let's say, client
Yeah.
relationship. Yeah, yeah.
So what are maybe your most memorable mistakes that defined you? So what are like the mistakes you've done that were like the most memorable?
In what area do you mean? On
In sales,
communication, or I don't know,
sales in
in
general,
sales?
communication, negotiations, well, maybe pricings, offers.
Yeah, for pricing, let's say I didn't do like good calculations, I didn't take enough time, or I didn't collect enough data. This was, let's say, a mistake which led to, let's say, some unrational decisions or strategies. In negotiations is again, I didn't come prepared, or my team didn't come prepared, or we didn't listen enough, to what the people on the other side had to say, or we didn't have, or we came, let's say, with only one strategy, you know. So I learned that you need to have two or three strategies if the first one doesn't work, or two or three scenarios. So yeah, these are the mistakes, but absolutely, mistakes are needed, are much needed for our progress. Absolutely. There is like a really good phrase which says that mistakes are our biggest teacher,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, we should not be, I mean, everyone is making mistakes, even the clients, of course. So, but what we learn from them, how we adapt, that's much more important. Yeah.
What were your biggest wins? Like what the strategy you took, maybe some risk you took, maybe something new you learned. What were like the biggest wins you had?
For me, let's say one of the biggest wins was like keeping the relationship with the, let's say, with the clients, even when the economic situation or the market situation was not perfect, when we had like big challenges, like I don't know, some financial challenges, or when we didn't agree with something, that even though we passed together through those situations and we kept those relationships, and the clients really appreciate that, even though when you cannot help them, you know, every time, they appreciate this effort you make for them. So like keeping those relationships, keeping, let's say, a motivated team, being supportive, collaborative. I would put this in front of, let's say, some financial or sales metrics achievements. This counts more for me, you know.
Okay.
And to see, let's say, business growing, and to see my let's say, my team growing, personal wise and business wise, and to see myself growing, personal wise and business wise. These are my, let's say, I would say, achievements.
Yeah, of course, because they affected your whole career and life later, right? So you
Absolutely.
also, for you, I know that you also like really quickly grew with new opportunities and responsibilities, and then you like had a lot of trouble managing them right in the beginning. So maybe for anyone whose company or career is also growing fast, how did you handle that? What should they avoid? What did you have to learn to be able to control everything that happened so fast, so much more responsibility, as we said?
Yeah, when working for a company, or even if you have your own business or you do freelancing or stuff like that, sooner or later this work overload comes. You need to deal with much many challenges. Getting taking responsibility of the bigger teams, of never-ending, growing sales goals, KPIs, and stuff like that. And I was at one point in my career some years ago when I realized that I need to do something to reorganize my working and personal approaches, to be able to handle all those challenges, expectations, obligations, to keep my energy, and to keep my, let's say, work-life balance as well, you know, to keep my energy, to keep my motivation, and of course to avoid burning out. So I've been always like learning and testing different approaches, how to, let's say, optimize some things. Years ago, when there was not a lot of, when before the podcasts and those webinars and so on, I read quite a lot of books about this topic, articles, talked with the people, and I've been always like adapting those tactics, strategies, testing them in my, let's say, everyday work approaches or some personal approaches.
Maybe what are
So
some of those tactics, maybe, if you could share a few?
setting the limits, setting priorities, absolutely. Organizing your, let's say, your work day, like planning, setting priorities, avoiding disturbing factors, like these notifications, people jumping into your office every time they have time, for example. And I worked a lot on improving my focus, you know, to, to take, let's say, 2 deep focused sessions per day for the most demanding tasks, let's say when creating some strategies, agreements, preparing some offers, calculations and stuff like that. And like I mentioned before, like limiting my working hours, absolutely, like setting the time by which I will leave the workplace or the office or finish the work, to keep that balance. And in the free time, of course, or even during the workday, taking care of, let's say, quality food intake, sufficient food intake, hydration, do movement even during the workday, like you said, standing desk, walking meetings, and taking care of the recovery and making sure I have enough and quality sleep time. This really, there's much more. Improving efficiency, productivity, and so on. And all these approaches, they really influence our work and personal performance. Because I was working a lot on these approaches, in the last years, I really improved my company results, my, let's say, sales results, team efficiency, my efficiency, motivation, my motivation, team's motivation, my leadership skills, client relationships, communication and stuff like that. And of course, I kept my well-being. I kinda have some different approaches how to deal with stress, which we cannot avoid completely, but we can deal with it. We can adapt to it, and stuff like that. So this is what keeps me going, and even, let's say, slowly but stable, even accelerating my skills, my achievements, and so on, avoiding those peaks which we talked about in the beginning, to have rapid growth of the career, burning out, and then doing the few steps back, like starting from the beginning.
How do you, so many people have a problem with like prioritizing the tasks and maybe like
Yes.
setting the day, because then they just, okay, I will do all these 10 tasks today, and then they make 2 and they feel unsatisfied and they try to make more the next day and burn out and don't know how to do priorities. What is like some template, like, or some like way they could like fix it tomorrow?
Yeah, what I do, my approach is I do like a weekly or a daily task list. For each task, I set the deadlines, and let's say there are like 10 tasks on my list. I set the priorities, what are the most urgent, what are most time consuming, the most demanding, and I focus the majority of my energy and time on those, because those, the most demanding ones, bring usually the biggest effects, the biggest value, the best results, and so on. So skipping or leaving those non-important tasks like some administration, reporting and stuff like that, CRM, let's say, input, for the later when I really have time. So using my energy and time for those the most demanding tasks, making the priorities what's more important. So yeah, this really helps a lot. And there's been like a lot of neuroscientific research done that which says that we are the most productive and effective in the morning time, let's say till lunch, I don't know, till 11 o'clock, for example. So I try to focus on the work or tasks, on the most demanding ones in the morning time, till lunch. I usually organize the meetings after lunch. I do these reportings, administrative tasks later on, because these things don't require much less. They require much less attention, focus, much more energy input and stuff like that. Okay, for the meetings, I talk about the regular meetings. If you have some really strategic or really intense meetings, okay, it makes sense to make them in the morning, let's say, as well.
So because of this strategy, you probably were able to also build your own personal brand while also working for the company, right? So how did you manage the newsletter, ebook, and workshop, help with sales, also make sure of revenue growth and retention? Like, how did you combine those, and what did you learn from those? How do they maybe help you?
I need to be honest. It's really, really demanding. It takes like having a side business besides a full-time job, and they're not complementary, of course. It takes like a lot of time, a lot of organization. It's really energy consuming. So I need to be really good organized for each week or for each day. I need to set priorities, and I need to really to focus on the things which matter the most, you know. Even when doing this, let's say my side projects, I just cannot afford to draw, to color the blocks in the Excel file, for example, you know. Skip the things which don't matter and focus on the value you need to bring, or let's say the most demanding things which bring results, or I don't know, income or whatever. Yeah. So this organization, prioritization, focus. I've worked a lot on this work efficiency as well, because you know I don't want to spend all my energy at my workplace, because I need it later on for my side projects. Yeah.
So for someone who has like who also wants to build a personal brand, or maybe thinking about him, some founder or some like B2B seller, like how did it help you, and maybe how would you recommend them to like do it? Because maybe they have like 1 day per week or like something like that to focus on that. Like what would be the game plan, and why would they even have to do it?
Yeah, it's if the person or if the people are looking for new opportunities, or they just want to express their some additional talents, if they have this, they want to express their entrepreneurship talent, stuff like that, I would really empower or motivate them to do it, to follow your, let's say, inner voice, you know, because you're gonna really feel regret later if you don't do something what you want. And establishing a personal brand helps a lot. I mean, even if you just want to, let's say, to work for some company, I mean, it gives you new opportunities, you know, because you expose yourself, you build trust, you share your knowledge, your stories, and in this way, you have competitive advantage. Even when you're applying for a job at some company, if you're exposed, let's say on LinkedIn, and if that recruiter from that company or that company does a research about you, and you have like a really positive personal brand, or they see that you have a lot of knowledge, you have this authenticity, you're an expert, you're a go-to person, so you already have competitive advantages in front of the other candidates. If we then go for the, let's say, solopreneurs, freelancers, again, your business is actually you know. So again, you need to establish your brand, connect it with your business, and expose yourself again. It's like a really good promotion, because the people don't follow, let's say, this corpo promotional material content. They follow people, you know. So my key message is that personal branding is giving you new opportunities. Absolutely, that's my experience. I got so many invitations for some collaborations, newsletter collaborations, for a podcast like we're doing now, to do some projects. I had some requests for the workshops, for some speaking at some events. And it really makes you grow, because you need to learn new things. It really kicks you out of the comfort zone, you know. Okay, unless you hire somebody who's gonna do it for you, an expert who's gonna do this personal branding for you, being a ghostwriter for your content and so on. Okay, you can do it also like that. But in this way, you kind of skip this educational, let's say, steps, or this growing. Personal and business growing steps. So if anyone is in doubt, I mean, feel free to contact me to share my experience, to share my advices, some fails, my knowledge, my approaches. And if you're thinking about that, do it today. Don't overthink. Don't skip it. Don't not postpone it till next year. Do it. Start doing it today. Yeah.
Maybe to make it easier also for the sales guys and for the personal brands, what are like some tools do you use? Do you use any AI tools to help yourselves with?
Yeah, I use uh, some of these AI tools like Perplexity, ChatGPT, and some others just to get some creative ideas to optimize some things for brainstorming, for some grammatical corrections, let's say. Uh, but I still, the point of the personal brand is to avoid some generic, let's say, or content or writing or copying some other approaches, because personal brand is authentic, it's you, so it's your approach. So I really don't recommend to make this AI generated content, because people feel that and the people follow you or give you opportunities because of you, because of your character, mindset, your energy, your approach, your way of writing, your way of making content, of your path, of your fails, and so on. So stick to that authenticity, absolutely. AI can be a tool, can be a support, but don't rely on that, and don't build a personal brand on that. Yeah.
What about for B2B sales? Do we like use any AI tools or any like general digital tools for the sales specifically?
Yeah, I use it for some, let's say, for some market analysis, for calculations, to just maybe for some idea generating. Uh, like I said, also for maybe some translations, because I work with people from some of the other countries, so I need some translations as well, to give me some concepts, but I don't fully rely on that. I mean, even if you're doing some calculations and stuff like that, you need to check everything. I mean, it's not, AI is not perfect yet.
What about some, okay, maybe some old school stuff, we could say, maybe some books or podcasts or stuff like that that you would recommend that people take their time, listen, learn from there to communicate, negotiate, do sales better, offers?
Yeah, there is one really good book, or let's say collection of books. It's called, the authors are let me just check, Bob Burke and John David Mann. The first book is called The Go Giver, and the second one is Go Givers Sell More. It talks how when providing a value, like, or giving additional value, you sell more, you know. So this was like one of the Bibles of sales, which I learned a lot from that. And now I don't read a lot of books about sales, but I talk a lot with the people. We change experience, the strategies, the approaches. There's like a lot of knowledge on LinkedIn, for example. There's like a lot of good sales people who write their stories, their approaches, their fails and wins and stuff like that. So, you know, it's a really good platform to find that knowledge. But I listen a lot of podcasts about this personal and work performance. I listen quite a lot of stuff from Huberman, the Huberman Lab. Like, he's one of the leading neuroscientists. He's talking about these neuroscientific approaches, let's say, at work, in personal life, like how to improve sleeping habits, how to improve deep work, and stuff like that. So I would expose these two. I mean, there's like a lot more, but let's say these are like the biggest one. Let's say the most
The
recognizable
starting
ones.
point.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so maybe for the last thing, like what would be one key idea, like insight or like an opinion you'd like to leave the audience with, like for B2B sales, that like they should hear, like one last idea that is the most important thing?
Yeah. I would really point out that there is really important that we learn non-stop to get new knowledge, to see the new trends, to learn from each other, to exchange experience, to learn from the mistakes. I would say that we need to be collaborative, with everyone, even with the competition, for example, and not to avoid some mistakes or to lose some time or to get the knowledge and experience faster. It's really smart to get a mentor, a coach, or a consultant.
Okay, thank you so much. This was very helpful. I'm very happy we had the podcast. We also met on LinkedIn because of your personal brand. I started following you because you post a lot about also burnout and how can you help yourself, performance, sustainability, and
sales.
I also loved and sales, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from you, and I wanted to have you on this podcast. And you again gave us a lot of knowledge. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. And everybody go follow him. We will put the description, all the LinkedIn information. Do you want anywhere else also? Are you active on any other platforms you would like to be contacted?
Yeah, in English language, I'm active on LinkedIn and Substack, and in Slovenian language, I'm also active on Instagram and Facebook. And at this point, I would also like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to get to know you, to share the experience, and to give me the opportunity to share, let's say, my mission of empowering people to perform better in personal and work life. And I hope that you learned a lot about sales, that you got some new approaches, some new learnings, some new experiences, and so on. So keep on learning, keep on testing, keep on improving your skills, and be persistent in business. Yeah.
We will. Thank you so much. Okay, so see you next time and have a good one.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dylan. Bye bye. See you.